Imagine walking into a town where dinner is still cooking on the stove, where half-knitted sweaters still have needles piercing through the yarn, where rifles are lined up against the wall, untouched. Everything is exactly where it should be, except for the people. In November 1930, a fur trapper named Joe LaBelle walked into a remote Inuit village in northern Canada looking for a warm place to rest. But what he stumbled upon wasn't just an empty village, it was a living nightmare. An entire community of over 70 people had vanished into thin air in a single night. Joe LaBelle knew this village well. It was a lively, welcoming settlement on the rocky shores of Lake Anjikuni. But as he stepped off his sled that freezing evening, the silence was deafening. No laughter, no barking dogs, no smoke rising from the chimneys. Driven by a growing sense of dread, LaBelle began opening doors. In the first cabin, he found a pot of caribou stew, cold and covered in a thin layer of ice, but still sitting on a stove that had recently burned out. In another, a meal was laid out on the table. Clothes were neatly folded. The villagers' most prized possessions, their rifles, were still hanging by the doors. To an Inuit, leaving your rifle behind in the brutal Canadian wilderness is a death sentence. They wouldn't leave them unless they didn't have a choice. Terrified, LaBelle rushed through the snow to the edge of the village looking for tracks. A mass evacuation of 70 people would leave a massive trail in the thick, fresh snow, but there was nothing. No footprints, no sled tracks, nothing but pristine, undisturbed ice. It was as if the earth had simply opened up and swallowed them whole. LaBelle fled the village, braving the sub-zero temperatures until he reached the nearest telegraph station. Within hours, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the Mounties, were dispatched to Lake Anjikuni. What they discovered next turned a strange disappearance into a chilling paranormal mystery. When the investigators arrived, they confirmed everything LaBelle had reported, but as they searched deeper, they found two horrifying clues that defied all logic. First, at the edge of the woods, they found the village sled dogs, all of them, buried under the snow. They had starved to death, while tied to their posts. This made no sense. If the villagers left willingly, they would have taken their dogs. If they were attacked, the dogs would have barked, fought, or broken free. Instead, they stood there, waiting for masters who never came back. But the second discovery was far worse. The Mounties walked to the village burial grounds. The graves had been freshly dug up. The ancient bodies of the villagers' ancestors were gone. In Inuit culture, desecrating a grave is the ultimate sin. No animal could have neatly excavated the frozen earth and removed the corpses. Someone, or something, had taken the living and the dead. During the investigation, reports emerged from hunters miles away. They claimed that on the night the village went silent, a strange, glowing object was seen in the northern sky, changing shape and flying toward Lake Anjikuni. Did a freak cosmic event occur? Were they taken? Or did they stumble upon something in the deep Canadian wilderness that we aren't meant to understand? Nearly a century later, the case of Anjikuni Lake remains officially unsolved. The cabins have rotted away. The snow has washed away the memories. But the question remains frozen in time. Where did they go? Maybe some secrets are meant to stay buried in the dark. This is Velora. Remember, not everything told is true.